Welcome to episode 250 of the official GonnaGeek.com show. This week, Chris talks about how none of us have actually recorded 250 episodes of this show. I talk about how none of us have recorded 250 episodes of this show. And Sunkast is here to question why there's even been 250 episodes of this show. This and more in this week's 250th episode of this show.
I'm Haley from Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., a podcast member of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the one you're listening to now. The opinions expressed are those of each individual. Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com and get ready because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
This is the official GonnaGeek.com show. Here we're a bunch of geeks talking about geeky things. Each week, we run down the latest news and happenings in the world of geek. These are your hosts for the show, Steven.
But what if I'm in the mood for a T-Swift story?
Chris.
I've heard the X is going to give it to you.
And SP.
That's how we roll on Gonna Geek on Monday night. We get crazy!
Gonna Geek Productions presents the official GonnaGeek.com show.
Welcome to episode 250 of the official GonnaGeek.com show. I am Steven John Drew, and with me, of course, is Chris. Has more episodes under his belt than me, Farrell.
It's like he knew what I was going to say when we hit episode 250.
Also have joining us the temporary, the substitute, the junior Stargate Pioneer. That's right, Sunkast is back again this week.
I don't know that I like the term junior.
Okay.
That just makes me think of the Andrew Schwarzenegger movie where he was pregnant.
Okay, but here's the thing. Would you rather be junior Stargate Pioneer or junior Andrew Zarian? I think we know the answer.
Oh, God. Neither one of them are good choices.
Well, there's a lot of wine involved with one of those choices.
That's fair. That is a fair point. Yes, Stargate Pioneer is away. He's enjoying the summer fun. We definitely encourage him to have fun over the summer. He's the only one out of us who has the wonderful lake property to fly the drone. So we say, go ahead, fly the drone. It's much more fun than being on this show. But he is away this week. I'll be away again next week. And I believe the week after that, he should return, unless that's the week we're off. But anyways, just keep listening. Eventually, he'll show back up. He'll school us all on all the things we did wrong. And in the meantime, this week, you can, if you're watching the video side of things at youtube.com/GonnaGeek, you can see him over Sunkast's shoulder. That's absolutely true for the audio listeners. He's really legitimately there. So yes, 250 episodes. We don't really have anything super stellar planned. No special 250 giveaway extravaganza, but that's because, let's be honest, you've had 250 episodes of this amazing show. That in itself is a gift.
Is it?
I'm going to give away a high five. That's what I'm going to do.
So if you want to enter this contest for one high five from Chris Farrell, please email Chris at GonnaGeek.com and tell him, actually, you know what? We won't even make this something you have to do. You just have to use the keyword, the promo code. The promo code for Chris Farrell's high five extravaganza is going to be Casper. Go ahead and make it Casper.
I think people should email JS instead.
All right, well, let's go ahead and talk some really exciting news. We got the most fun one at the top of the news. I cannot believe that we're about to say this news. This is something that how many of us said that this would never happen. And then when the rumor mill kicked up, we said, no, it's not going to happen. And it's happening. What is going on here, Chris Farrell?
So what is going on here, El Capitan Steven John Drew, is they finally found a way to make me decide I will pay for CBS All Access. Yes.
Oh my
God.
I'm
actually going to do it. And I feel kind of dirty saying it, but there is a reason. We've been talking about the rumor for months that's been floating around that Patrick Stewart would be coming back to the Trek universe to portray Captain Jean-Luc Picard again. Well, it is official, announced this weekend at a Star Trek convention in Las Vegas. Sir Patrick Stewart is in fact returning to reprise his role as Captain Jean-Luc Picard. This series is not going to be a reboot of Star Trek The Next Generation, but it's described as an exploration in the next chapter of Captain Picard's life. Or excuse me, Picard's life. They don't say Captain, so maybe that's a hint at what comes for him. I'm not sure. Additional details about the new series, including its title, episode count, premiere date, all of those things are being kept under wraps. The creative team for the newest Star Trek series includes Alex Kurtzman, who serves as the showrunner on all CBS All Access Discovery deals and all the other Trek coming up.
Ooh.
Yeah, I have my concerns there, but it's Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart is an executive producer on this show as well, so that gives me some confidence. And Alex Kurtzman had some kind words before he introduced Patrick Stewart on stage. He said, "With overwhelming joy, it's a privilege to welcome Sir Patrick Stewart back to the Star Trek fold. For over 20 years, fans have hoped for the return of Captain Jean-Luc Picard, and that day is finally here. We can't wait to forge new ground, surprise people, and honor generations, both new and old." So they got me, guys. Star Trek Discovery wasn't enough to do it. I got tempted, but all they had to say is Sir Patrick is returning to be Captain Picard, and I'm in. And I'm not the only one. This is something that seems like it hit a lot of people. I went on Twitter, and there's all sorts of people that are commenting on the fact, people about my age who go, "I grew up watching Captain Picard on screen. He was a role model of mine. It brings tears to my eyes to consider the fact that now my kids can have that same experience with Sir Patrick Stewart." And I was like, oh man, first of all, I'm old, but second of all, that's really cool.
You are old.
Yeah, I know.
This is really cool. I'm excited to see this. I have concerns about where it's going to fall in the timeline, because technically speaking, the Star Trek Discovery happens in the old timeline, but it looks different. So it's sort of its own version of the old timeline. And so this here is going to be interesting to see what comes out of this, as far as, will it be separate than Star Trek Discovery, or will it be actually what we know and love?
My guess is they're going to tie into Next Gen. They said it's not a reboot. They meant it, and it is about the next story in his life, or the next chapter in his life. So my guess is, because they're doing it right now, we're just going to keep playing with the Prime timeline, not the Kelvin timeline.
But the thing is, the Prime timeline is technically Star Trek Discovery.
No, I thought that was, yes.
Right.
Yeah, and that takes place prior to the original series, so there's no reason why you couldn't have something else occurring in that timeline just later down the road.
Yeah, but they've made some changes, right? Like we've seen it in the trailer, right? There's some creative liberties with certain uniforms and stuff, and maybe the way Klingons look.
What they're going to have to do is figure out how to take the flavor of this character we haven't seen on screen since 2002 was the last time he played Captain Picard, and see how they're going to update the world established in the Next Generation to fit in with the flair and the aesthetic they've developed with Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah. I think they're doing one thing smart here, is that they are taking this and they're doing it in real time, whereas this takes place 20 years after TNG. So that gap, it's there, but it's still going to be Jean-Luc Picard. It's going to be 20 years later.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And what I like about doing it 20 years later is that you have the possibility of seeing a little bit different version of Jean-Luc Picard, not the same thing, because he's had 20 years more of experience, right? So I really like that. We don't have to get this whole, oh, wow, he can't do half of the things that he could before because he's 20 years older, but we're acting like he's younger again. Like, I think that it's a really good move, and it just...
But he doesn't age.
That's fair.
No, he doesn't.
That is fair. He does look pretty much the same. But I just think that pocket leaves us a lot of room to fill in sort of back history too, which is one of my favorite elements of storytelling, is when you do see, done well, the reveal of past events. And I really like that, because that's, again, 20 years that you can draw, and you can all of a sudden find out that he had a whole other edition of Inner Light. We can go ahead and go that route,
So it'll be interesting to see what they do with this, because I used to read the Star Trek books for a long time. I kind of stopped reading them. I still get caught up by going to the Memory Beta Wiki, which is what covers all the fiction and things like that. And in those, the timelines get confused too, because there's a separate timeline that's established with Star Trek Online and a separate timeline established with the books. So depending on which ones you read, in the books right now, Picard's about 25 years past Next Gen. He's still captaining the Enterprise with Worf as his first officer. In the Road to 2409, which they established for Star Trek Online, he became, I believe, the ambassador to Vulcan when he gave up the seat on the Enterprise. So the real question is, what do they do with Captain Picard? Is he still captaining the Enterprise? Is he back at Starfleet Command? Is he out playing like Indiana Jones, basically going on archaeological digs and stealing back things from folks? I have no idea, but all I know is it's a wide tapestry they have to play with. And part of me is just going, I bet a lot of these actors would come back for a 1 or 2 episode guest arc or an appearance. I mean, Gates McFadden said as much on Twitter. I'm sure the others would. But who I want to see if they can get a guest to come back, which I think would be fantastic and kind of give some symmetry to this, because he guested in the premiere episode, he guested in the finale episode, is John Delancey as Q. Could you imagine Q and a semi-retired Captain Picard going about the universe getting into trouble or something like that? The way those two actors play off of each other, it would be fantastic.
That'll be the story. It'll be retirement with Picard and Q. That'll be the whole story. I like it.
It's the new Odd Couple.
Exactly. Well, I'm really excited about this, and I can't wait to see what happens with this. And I really hope they do a good job. I know a lot of people didn't like Star Trek Discovery. I know that a lot of people did like Star Trek Discovery, but it was very polar differences. It was polar opposites.
Discovery does not exist.
Yeah, so people like Sunkast, it doesn't exist. But then there's people like myself who like the more modern sort of Star Trek. And so that's why I'm really interested in this, because I think it could be a really good balance. You've got the probably more traditional Star Trek feel over with this new series, and then for those of us who want that new modern sci-fi feel, you've got Discovery. So I like this possible balance here, and I can't wait to see it happen. I really hope, though, they don't go too modern with this new series. I just think that would be a misstep if you're going Picard.
It has to have some connection and some relationship to TNG and the way TNG was done. And what really worries me is just what they've done with Discovery. Does not, to me, honestly, and this is my honest opinion, Discovery is not Star Trek. That's not Star Trek at all to me. It's completely unlike any other Star Trek that they've ever done. Doesn't really fit in with the other Star Trek series that they've done. It's not Star Trek, in my opinion. So that's why I'm a little bit cautious about what it is that they're going to do. I mean, this is going to be CBS Access, all online or whatever, and they could literally do anything with that. So hopefully they throw a bone to people like me that really dislike what they did with Discovery. I mean, if they're gonna go through and just completely ruin the image that a lot of people have of Picard, that's going to be a huge disservice to the franchise.
Yes, and I agree. And we've talked before on here how you and I have different opinions on Discovery, and that's fair. But I do appreciate the fact that if you're going to bring a character back, you want to make sure that character feels like that character. And I agree with that, right? With Discovery, it was all new characters, mostly. Little asterisks on there. But it was supposed to be a whole different chapter in the world of Star Trek. And so that's why I was okay going that way. But yeah, I agree. I would like to see the more traditional tone with Picard, and we will see. But again, there's been those 20 years, so we don't know. You might get a little bit more crotchety old man. You might get that because there is 20 years. We don't know what's happened in those 20 years. So I expect
he opened up a yogurt shop. Frozen yogurt.
Exactly. Picard's Froyo.
In a good place.
So before we get off this, 2 quick questions for you guys, and we can just power through them real quick. First one, Michael Dorn's been pitching the idea of a Captain Worf series for years, wanting to come back, be Worf, be a captain of his own starship. Does this make it more likely we might get a Captain Worf series one day? What do you guys think?
Let's see what happens with Picard. And the reason why I say that is because, remember, Star Trek failed, right? The reality is old Star Trek failed. It got to the point that people didn't want to watch it. So putting all the eggs in the basket of olden day might be a problem. The flip side to that is there's the whole retro feel, the whole everything. Everybody wants to relive their past. Nostalgia. Thank you. And so that's one of the reasons that could possibly counter that whole Star Trek failed thing, because I've been a long believer of that. I like Star Trek. I've been a Trekkie. I've grown up a Trekkie, but I do realize that the old Star Trek failed. But again, we'll see what happens, because if this series comes out and people go, really, why are you doing this as a cash grab? Then no, definitely not. If it takes off, again, nostalgia, then yeah, why would they not do the Worf series? Because people love Worf. Like, Worf is a favorite amongst many people.
But he's got to remember his lines. I mean, Michael Dorn was notorious for not remembering his lines and having to do take after take. I mean, I love Worf and I love Michael Dorn, but that's just a fact.
Fair point. Fair point.
That is fair. Okay, second question.
So the second question, I touched on this already when I said if I could get one guest star from the original cast, it would be John Delancey. Who do you guys want to appear, even if it's just in a one-off appearance, from the cast of Next Gen on this show?
Oh, from the cast.
Obviously, Will Wheaton. No, I'm just joking.
That was actually said in the chat room. Have him show up just so he can go, shut up, Wesley.
I gotta say that John Delancey would be mine because of the relationship between the two. It's the most natural. But since you said that, I'll say somebody else. And who I will say is actually LeVar Burton. And I think LeVar Burton would be a really good fit because Data, you know, we know Brent Spiner and sort of how he's sort of done with things and whatnot. And I think Data had a pretty good exploration of his backstory many, many times. Jonathan Frakes, sorry, Jonathan Frakes, you burned me with Enterprise, so you're not getting my woo-woo come back. But I think that the idea of seeing a LaForge, a more senior LaForge, would be really interesting because he really did change. Like, that character changed a lot in the movies. And then where we ended off in the actual TV series with All Good Things, I think that we kind of saw a future LaForge that looked really interesting. And that's why I think LaForge would be really good.
Fair. Sunkast, what do you think? Who do you want to see come back?
There's so many choices from the TNG cast, but honestly, I'd rather pick from other series and other TV shows.
Go for it.
Like, I think it would be hilarious if they had Seth MacFarlane on there.
Yes.
You know that. Okay, so with that said, the Orville, Seth MacFarlane, we've seen a lot of Star Trek cast have been involved with the Orville. It would be very interesting to see if any of them that are involved on a more routine basis, directing and whatnot, if they've got contracts that say that they can't touch other sci-fi properties. Sometimes they have them, right?
Yeah.
So in any case, Troy is bound to crash into Picard at some point. He'll be driving down the street in his Lexus, and what'll happen? Bam! Troy's there. Into the side.
I see what you did there.
Yep. All right. Well, let's talk about this next news point here, which is definitely nowhere near as exciting as that. And it is about how a certain company apparently was put not out of business, but in significant delay with producing a product because they were virus struck. That's right. There's a company called Taiwan Semiconductor Company Limited, or if you prefer, Taiwan Semiconductor Co. Limited, said that 80% of the fabrication tools that were affected on Friday had been recovered by Sunday. Now, what are these tools? These tools are semiconductors that are regularly used in Apple iPhones. Apparently, this company had a significant virus outbreak that led to a big delay now, because they lost 2 days of production, of these semiconductors. Now, I don't really know how that all fits into the world of iPhone, but it is interesting to see that a manufacturer that Apple heavily depends on was affected for 2 days by a virus outbreak. This is unheard of to me in, let me check the clock. Is it 2018? Yeah, it is 2018 that a company that deals with something like Apple could be so open to viruses that they'd be put out for several days with production. This is crazy to me. Now, the semiconductor company blames the outbreak on a mistake during the installation of software for a new tool, which, when it was connected to a computer network, caused this problem. Now, they do say confidential information was not compromised, But of course, this is going to apparently affect their third quarter revenue by 3%. Very odd to me that you would have this happen. Oh, whoops, push the virus.exe by mistake. My bad.
I'm sorry, this story does not make sense. It doesn't add up to me. I read other articles saying that it was a WannaCry virus variant that they had trouble with, which is ransomware. So how did that get on there again? From the installation of a download tool?
Yeah, I think it was what Chris said, porn.
Someone was bored working night shift, and I was like, well, I'm going to check out and see what's on here. I don't want to use my phone for that because I don't want to get a virus. Just let me use this workstation here. Uh-oh.
That's way more plausible than their story.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing is, like, it would be one thing to say we have had a company cause this outage by downloading something. They don't even need to say what it was, but they say by downloading something.
Porn.
Mm-hmm. We can all fill in the dots, right? That's one thing to say that. It's like, okay, fine. Then they can go, we've made changes to ensure this doesn't happen again and that user restriction is blah, 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 blah. But to say that you pushed it out is like worse. Far worse. Is like you actually went through, you decided that this virus was something that you felt was safe enough to push out. That means that your admin team that maintains these tools dropped the ball that big. Like, what kind of confidence does that give your company?
Well, just what they said. They said they blamed the outbreak on a mistake during installation of software for a new tool. That does not add up. How do you get a virus that way?
Yeah.
What were you doing that you got a virus doing that?
I already told you the answer.
You know, when you hear situations like this, though, it does sort of emphasize why a lot of these cell phone manufacturers do try to put eggs in multiple baskets. Now, you know, back in the day, you used to see it that so many companies would have just a very streamlined, I use this manufacturer, this part, this manufacturer for that. But then you see them diversifying their platform a little bit. It makes sense because if all of a sudden this caused Apple a big problem, if they had somebody else doing these semiconductors, then they could just, you know, at least still offer a degree of production as opposed to just being reliant on one specific company. So interesting to see. And I wanted to bring this up for a couple of reasons. And Sunkast hit the main one was what? How does this add up? So if you have been affected by this semiconductor outbreak, let us know. No, you're not going to be affected by that.
You know who probably was? Cody.
That's true.
The verified Cody.
That's true.
It's true.
Verified Cody Goff, probably. Yes, absolutely.
Verified Cody Goff. If you're hearing this and you were impacted, please feel free to reach out and let us know. Send your email to js@gonnageek.com. He's going to get right on this and get to the bottom of how this happened.
Absolutely. All right. So speaking of the bottom, I know that you are looking forward to a robot bottom to touch Sunkast. Looks like you're going to have a little bit of emotion with that robot bottom. Is that correct?
Yeah. Sex robots. No. So, you know how a lot of people like Elon Musk are really against, you know, the takeover of robots these days. And one of these days, robots are just going to rule our lives. And that's going to be it. It's going to be Terminator Judgment Day. So this is a very interesting study that went on. So this study was published in Open Access Journal PLOS1, where they had 89 volunteers who were recruited to complete a pair of tasks with the help of Now, a small humanoid robot kind of similar to the Asimo, where the participants were told the task, which involved answering a series of either-or questions, such as, do you prefer pasta or pizza? And organizing a weekly schedule were to improve Now's learning algorithms. But this was just a cover story, and the real test came after the tasks were completed. And scientists asked participants to turn off the robot. So in roughly half of the experiments, the robot protested, telling the participants it was afraid of the dark and even begging, no, please do not switch me off. When this happened, the human volunteers were likely to refuse to turn off the bot, or of the 43 volunteers who heard Now's pleas, 13 of them actually refused to turn off the robot. And of the remaining 30, they took on average twice as long to comply compared to those who did not hear the command for the robot to be turned off. So this is interesting. When they were quizzed about their actions, participants who refused to turn off the robot gave a number of reasons for doing so. Some said that they were surprised by the pleas, and others that they were just scared that they were doing something wrong. But the most common response was simply that the robot said it didn't want to be switched off. So this is very interesting, the fact that now humans can actually be emotionally manipulated by a robot. Now, I know Chris has watched this show. I've started watching this show, which is called The Good Place. And there's a scene, I think it's in season 1?
Near the end of season 1, I believe.
Yeah.
So where they basically have this entire situation where they had to turn off a robot, and it's hilarious. And this totally makes me think of that scene from The Good Place. But apparently robots are going to take over, because if we are going to be in control of them, well, if they're going to beg us to not turn them off and we're just going to comply with that, then we're doomed.
This is how the Terminator actually happens,
Yeah,
guys. We're afraid to turn him off lest we hurt his feelings.
So, Steven, if a robot begged for its life, would you still turn it off?
Does it have your face?
No, it has SP's face.
I don't think I would. No, I don't think I would. So I'd be afraid. I would be very afraid that that robot would have some form of SNASA technology. This was really interesting. When you put this news article in the doc today, I read through this and I started to think about that. Like, how would I react? Because, I with today's society, I would do it. Okay, like I would joking aside, I would turn off a robot. But if I had any indication that that robot was, acting like somebody, the whole, what was his name? The hologram in TNG episode where they put him in a box. What was
Mr. Moriarty.
Moriarty. Yeah, that's right. If it was like that, where it's like, okay, he understands or she understands. They're feeling, okay, then I'm not going to turn it off, because it's.
But there are no feelings. Robots don't have feelings.
But maybe it does. Maybe we finally. It just takes one step. But it was
clear that this was just a very basic robot.
Okay, well then, if that was the case, then yeah, and in fact, I would turn it off and then set it on fire.
It's a test of human behavior, really, and how we interact with things. It doesn't have much to do with the tech. And I would probably be one of those people, if it said, please don't switch me off, I kind of look for a second, like, what? No, and just turn it off. But I fully admit there'd be a second where I'd be like, did it just ask me not to turn it off? What?
I do want to say, though, that it is really interesting that as a society, we are now some people are willing to consider, maybe I shouldn't shut this robot off. So really good point, and really interesting thing.
It's scary.
Yeah, it is.
Because I'm just thinking about, what if Elon Musk gets right? What if these robots are going to take over? What if our lives are going to become the Matrix, where we're stuck in these batteries that they use for energy? And we can't turn them off because they start begging for their life. And we're unable to actually switch them off.
Hashtag Team Robot.
Or what if we are in the Matrix already, and this is just a test to see whether we believe it?
Oh, crap.
That would explain so much, like why Skype never works.
Am I supposed to take the red pill or the blue pill?
Well, let's talk about who drew the short end of the straw. We did. Okay, we drew the short end of the straw, where our reality, of all the things that we could be playing out, the reality we were programmed with was doing 250 episodes of this crap. Like, we got screwed.
Steven, no one's actually done 250 episodes that's on the show.
That's fair. That's fair.
We've hit the 250 episode mark, but no one has 250 episodes under their belt.
Fair. All right, well, moving on to the extra section here. This news article was something that I thought was actually pretty interesting to see. What this was we all remember the infamous experiment called Google Glass. Yeah, that was a thing of the past. Well, the Google Glass apparently has a possible use. There was a recent study that was conducted, and what it was to see if Google Glass could help people with autism. That's right. This study was obviously conducted with a bunch of children. And what it was the idea was that the Google Glass would sense the interactions with the person that was having them and would help this person understand the situation. There was a person who conducted or was part of the study, and what he said was, I would smile and say things like, "You looked at me 3 times," when he was usually talking with somebody. Well, using the Google Glasses, what happened was that they would actually have relay to an app and identify the emotions that were being had by the person that they were conversing with. And so after about, somewhere between 1 and 3 months, parents started to report that the children with autism made more eye contact regularly and related better to others. I thought that this was a really interesting way to use Google Glass. And I think that that's very valid, because if you are somebody who has troubles understanding the situation or reading the situation, it's beyond your control. This is helping you understand, break it down. What a cool idea.
It's an invaluable tool for those people.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure they probably encountered some trouble with people being resistant to the whole Google Glass thing, right? Because, I think as a society, we would sort of wonder a little bit about that. But I really think this is really cool. Like, you think about people who are hearing impaired, they have hearing aids, right? And so this could just be a device for people who do need this. So I really like this. And I think that if we can find other ways to use tools like Google Glass that help people, I think it's fantastic.
It's a more practical application of Google Glass.
Yes, very true. Very more practical.
Yes, the final end state for Google Glass was never we're all walking around with Google Glass in our head, using it as an augmented reality tool, catching Pokemon with it or anything like that. It was an interesting toy that Google played with, and a lot of people got interested and started using it for things, but it wasn't sustainable long term. This is a real cool use of Google Glass, and I'd love to see what they do with this going forward, and I hope Google keeps supporting it so they can keep doing these kind of studies and figuring out how this technology can be used to help people versus be super creepy like it was at first. Let's be honest, Google Glass was kind of creepy.
It's no more creepier than that camera I have installed in your bedroom, Chris.
The one that's underneath my bed so you can see when the dog hides under the bed?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your help with that.
No problem. Next in the extra, Chris, you had something about how Microsoft's actually charging now a subscription model for Windows 10. You said that this is 100% happening and that everybody should believe the headlines, right? Like, it's totally 100% true. Panic now.
This is exactly 100% true. No, this is the rumor that just will not die. This rumor keeps coming up that Microsoft is moving to a subscription model for Windows 10. You're going to be expected to pay like $7 or $10 a month to keep your Windows 10 access. And why did this happen? Well, because when Microsoft moved to Windows 10, this was the final Windows. They were just going to make Windows a service and keep adding features onto it and keep maintaining it. No longer would you be upgrading your OS every 3 years, and OS upgrades were a big chunk of Microsoft's profits. But guys, this is not happening. There's an article on howtogeek.com that can help you out with this, but particularly this round of misinformation was inspired by a new subscription service named the Microsoft Managed Desktop. One particularly misleading article over at Computer World says Microsoft is, quote, getting ready to replace Windows 10 with the Microsoft Managed Desktop, end quote. It's not true at all. What is the Microsoft Managed Desktop? It's a subscription service for businesses. It includes the Windows 10 operating system. It doesn't replace Windows 10 at all. Mary Jo Foley explained over in ZDNet a bit more details where it came out that Microsoft Managed Desktop is a single monthly fee that lets a business lease a physical PC that's automatically provisioned for that business. The PC will run Windows 10, and Microsoft will keep the operating system up to date and ensure those updates don't cause problems. So this is a very small product for business. And in fact, what was kind of cool in that is, if you're a business and you're wanting to launch one of these, your business could be the size of one person. Microsoft doesn't care. You'll pay your subscription fee per month and get that desktop PC that is managed by Microsoft. This is not them saying, haha, you morons, you upgraded from Windows 10 or Windows 8 to Windows 10, and now we're going to make you pay $10 a month to keep it going. No, that's not what's happening here, guys. Don't believe the clickbait.
Okay, so a lot of people, when they speak about their computers, they end up referring to the tower as the hard drive, right? They call it the hard drive. That's just what a lot of people do. So if I was an uneducated one-person business, I might call that a OneDrive subscription. Is that correct?
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yes.
I wish I didn't see what you did there.
Okay, so moral.
This is sad though, because think about this. You're gonna let Microsoft manage a PC. Wow, they've done a great job with that so far with Windows 10 updates. So they're gonna keep these desktops remotely updated and conflict free with these updates. I just don't see that happening.
Good luck.
Okay, that's a fair point, and one that I think we should all take under advisement. Finally, in the extra section here, Sunkast has some super exciting news. If you're a fan of Google Maps and you're a fan of Google Earth, well, guess what? This is the news article for you.
But I'm a flat earther.
Well, you are not a flat earther anymore.
So,
at least that's the approach that Google's taking.
Google is wrong because unfortunately they just updated Google Earth, and now Google Earth, when you zoom out, is a globe. It's not flat anymore. I don't understand. I thought the world was flat, but now Google Earth shows it as a globe, and I don't understand.
The globe is a lie.
Okay, so this actually, believe it or not, is a news article. If I was on Legends Podcast, I would call this non-news, but I'm not on Legends Podcast, so I'm not going to say that. Here's the thing about this that's really odd to me, is that we're making this news, that Google's implementing this when those of us who remember back in the day, when you first had to get into like the satellite imagery, and I think even some of the more detailed like terrain and whatnot, you had to do that through a program, an actual installed program Google made called Google Earth. And when you, shockingly, when you would open this program called Google Earth, it would be a globe. So really, it's just merging the two concepts. I've always wondered why they didn't implement that onto Google Maps. It's weird. It's bizarre to me. And you know what? The only sad part about this is right now, if you were to keep zooming out on Google Maps, you would just see a bunch of continents like repeated over and over. You know, you just got to keep zooming way out and you would see the whole thing just repeated. So sad to me. It's like now it's not the case. Now it's
the Earth is flat.
Yeah, it's true. By the way, that zoom thing's not true. I was lying, but
it's not true at all.
So for those of you who are flat earthers, Google is taking a stand. They've done it right now. They're saying you're wrong. Send your hate mail to js@gonnageek.com.
js@gonnageek.com is the perfect place to go. Before we wrap up, I got one last extra for you. This news just dropped this afternoon. Android P, aka Android Pie, as it's officially called, has hit the wild. If you have a Pixel phone or any phone that gets direct from Google, you can probably upgrade to Android Pie now. I have it sitting here ready to hit the install button, but I'm scared because I don't want my phone to break.
Settings, system, update, check for updates, checking. Oh, wait, it's up to date with 8.1.0. Darn carrier pushes.
Oh, so you mean you don't have Android P like shows up on my phone right here that says update size of 1,173 megabytes?
No. Yeah, I'm sure I will soon, though. I usually get them pretty quick. So we'll find out. In the meantime, if you have Android P yet and it's completely melted down.
Android Pie,
and it's asking you not to turn it off. Turn it off! It's a trap! Let's go ahead and hear Chris taps that app. Well, we'll hear from Chris as he taps that app. Or maybe we'll just like pre-play a clip. I don't know. I'll dig into the vault or something.
Let's do it.
While you may know Chris loves phones, tablets, and other gadgets, did you know he's also a master tap dancer? It's time for him to combine the two passions in a segment he calls Chris Taps That App.
So I'm tapping. I'm sorry, guys. I screwed up the last couple taps there. It wasn't as strong as I would like. I need to get back into practice because I haven't done a Tap That App segment in a while. But we're not talking about one app today. We're not talking about two apps. We're talking about 4 apps today. Well, really 3 plus an accessory, but whatever. we're going to get to it. It's all about a game that I recently got back into that I do know Sunkast has been playing for a long time. Yes, guys, we're going to talk about Pokemon Go today and some of the apps I use to make the game a bit easier to go and play and meet up with people. So Sunkast, I know you're familiar with Pokemon Go, right?
Of course.
That's right. Sunkast, what level are you up to? You eclipsed me by a lot, I wager.
So I'm currently about 200,000 away from hitting level 40 twice.
In all fairness, by the way, Chris, Sunkast, I don't know if you know this, but he actually travels quite a long distance quite regularly. He's really dedicated to it. So sometimes he'll catch Pokemon, like he'll just make a special trip like into Canada for it. So
this is true.
He's
never
very
go
dedicated.
To Canada.
He's
Why
very
would I
dedicated.
Go there?
Very dedicated. I don't know. We should
I'll
check
go
your
to
history.
Mexico before I go to Canada.
Okay, fair enough. But he's very dedicated. He does travel internationally for Pokemon Go. So
fair enough. So I got sucked back into Pokemon Go. I've talked about it in the All Things Good Nerdy podcast. So I am playing again. So the first app that's obviously essential to play Pokemon Go is Pokemon Go by Niantic. You can get it for iOS and Android. It's what you use to play the game. We really don't need to talk about it any more than that. But let's go into some of the other tools I use. So in my local area, in order to coordinate raids, in order to coordinate what Pokemon are out in the wild that people might want to find, some people use a Facebook group. Facebook hasn't been great because it's not great for instant notifications or seeing good threads of things. What we do use is we have a Discord server locally that is the Greater Morgantown Area Pokemon Discord server. So we use the Discord app, which is available on iOS, Android, PC, I think Apple, and also available as a web app to basically coordinate these things. There is group chat available with video and audio. We haven't made use of that. But what we do have in there is a bot that is the Meowth bot that is used to post notice of any raids or community day activities. Once you learn the commands, you can go in the raid channel and do, I believe it is !R, the stars that are associated with the egg, the location of where it is, and the minutes until it hatches. It posts a notification and creates a separate channel on the Discord server for that raid. So then people can say, hey, there's a 5-star Registeel raid that's 30 minutes away. I'm 10 minutes away. I might want to go to that. So they can pull up that channel. They can go in there and say, I'm on my way. I'm Team Mystic. I've got 3 other people with me. And you can see an easy graph of how many people are on their way to come and raid with you. This was hugely important when we had Community Day, the last Community Day, and also for the Lugia raid day, because we were able to coordinate having upwards of 20 people show up at some of these places. So we were split into 2 groups actually to go and perform some of these raids. So Discord has become my go-to way to kind of work with my community to then go and figure out where we're going to go to capture Pokemon. So Sunkast, do you use Discord or Facebook or anything like that to coordinate your raids with other folks?
Absolutely. In fact, the Discord that I'm on for the Flint area actually uses Meow, so I'm very familiar with how that bot works.
I'm very surprised with how well that bot works. I just started using the Discord about a month ago, so I haven't quite learned all the commands yet. There's a learning curve, but thankfully there's a help page that shows you all the commands, and most of the people in the community are pretty helpful. If you go, I don't know how to do this, but there's a raid starting, someone please tell me how to set this up. So what I've found, at least in my local community and from what other people have said, is most people that are playing Pokemon Go are pretty happy to help you out with posting raids because they want to do them too. I went and did 5 raids yesterday just based off of traffic I saw.
That's pretty good.
Yes. Well, I had a group of 6 people. We were going around and we were meeting up with folks to do a couple of Registeel raids, and we posted them. People would show up like, hey, I'll be there in 10 minutes. Can you guys hold off? And then we went with that group, kept getting larger as we went during the day. It's a pretty cool tool to coordinate with people. And you know, the funny thing is, one of the gals that was coming and raiding with us, she stayed in her car the whole time. So I only know her by her Discord username. I have no idea what she looks like or what her real name is. But every time we showed up, she'd be like, hey, I'm here. And we'd be like, cool, let's start the raid. Let's do it. So Discord is a great tool that I have found. You just need to figure out what the local channel is in your area. And sometimes, at least in my case, Facebook was the way to find that out, because it was really easy for folks to find the Facebook page and then go, hey, someone send me a link to the Discord. And from there, it's been extremely helpful. And I imagine it's going to be helpful for this upcoming Community Day as well. So 2 more apps to talk about.
I absolutely prefer Discord over Facebook for organizing for stuff like that. It's so much easier.
The Meowth bot makes it so much easier on there. The organization is pretty much done for you. You just have to check in and say you're on your way. Instead of being on a Facebook post, keep popping up Facebook to see if anyone's checked in and said they're coming. Just use Discord.
And
Yeah.
once you Discord, you have to, of course, record. So let's make sure that you record after.
Heyo!
Yeah. All right. What's your other ones you got here?
Next app is called PokeGenie. It is free on iOS and Android. You can pay to remove ads. I don't know how much it costs on iOS to do that.
I believe it's the same price.
It's $2.99. Okay, it's $2.99 on both.
Yeah.
To be able to remove it. So what is PokeGenie? Here is the description, and then I'll kind of back up better after I read it.
Was it what all of those guys, those adolescent guys, had? When the vision that they had when they watched "I Dream of Jeannie," PokeGenie. Never mind.
I figured you were going for the Christina Aguilera joke.
That's true. I could very well sing "Genie in a Bottle" right now, but I choose not to.
That we all thank you. So, according to their description, PokeGenie is a safe, reliable, accurate, and simple to use IV calculator for Pokemon Go, an essential tool for every Pokemon Go player. IV is an indicator of the potential of a Pokemon, a critical criterion for wisely investing Stardust and candies on the worthy Pokemon. So, what does this app do? At least on Android, when you launch it, it puts an overlay on screen, it gives you a little button, and whenever you catch a Pokemon, it always takes you to that same splash screen that shows you the CP, what the health power is, what the upgrade costs are. You hit the little PokeGenie button, it pops up an overlay, and it gives you the ratings of that Pokemon. So you can tell if this Meowth you caught in the wild is any good, or if you should just turn it into candy. So generally the way I've looked at it is, it rates it as acceptable, good, very good, pretty much from a scale of 0 to 100. If you get something powerful, you might want to hold on to that to evolve it. This is a tool that makes it really easy to be able to tell what your potential powerful Pokemon are versus just using the professor's or your mentor's ratings that are in the game. So I started using PokeGenie like 2 weeks ago. I'm really late to this game, and I realized how many mistakes I made in some of the Pokemon I evolved early on as I went, oh crap, what am I doing here? But pretty powerful tool for helping you figure out which Pokemon you should hold on to and which you should send to the candy shop. So Sunkast, do you use PokeGenie or do you use one of the other IV calculators out there?
PokeGenie is pretty much the de facto app that you use on iOS, so I'm very familiar with that as well. I actually did buy the paid version, and for iOS on the paid version, it not only removes the ads, but it enables background mode so that you can actually take a screenshot and it automatically be picked up by the PokeGenie app, as long as the app hasn't been put to sleep into background mode by the phone itself. So it's a kind of a catch-22 in the sense that, yeah, you have to go back to the app every 5 minutes to make sure it doesn't get put into background mode. But as long as it's somewhat active, you can take a picture, a screenshot of whatever Pokemon it is, and it'll actually pop up a notification that tells you what the IVs are.
That's cool. I think that's one of the differences of how iOS and Android is set up is, for me, it's literally just an overlay and I hit the button and it just shows me over top of Pokemon Go what the ratings are and then saves a screenshot in the app.
That's just down to the way that iPhone and iOS has stuff locked down versus Android.
Yeah, it's a very powerful tool. There's other IV calculators out there, but on our local Discord server, this is the one that like 95% of people recommended. So I said, if all of these guys who are playing who are like level 35, level 40, that have been playing this game, even the time during I quit, are saying this is the way to go, this is the way I'm going to go. And it's helped me make some smarter decisions on what I'm going to hold on to. And I actually did catch my first 100 IV Pokemon in a raid late last week. Actually, I got a 100 IV Executor.
You know,
a low-end version.
You said that this has been helping you decide what you hold on to and what you send away. I'll bet that when you send away a Pokemon, they say to themselves that they feel like they've been locked up tight for a century of lonely nights, waiting for someone to release them. That's a genie in the bottle, by the way. So just so you know. Just so you know.
Thank you, Steven.
All right, what else is making you the Pokemon Go Master Junior? Because of course we know Sunkast is the master.
So the next piece I have here is a combination of an app and a hardware toy. So first, to give you a little background, are you guys familiar with what a Pokemon Go Plus accessory is? I'm pretty sure Sunkast is. Steven, have you ever heard of this? So Pokemon Go Plus is Sunkast holding one up right there. It is a little Pokeball with a button on it. And basically what it is designed to do is you pair it with your phone while Pokemon Go is running. If you have notifications set up to notify you of Pokemon nearby or Pokestops nearby, it will light up. You push the button and it's automatically going to spin the Pokestop for you or automatically try to catch the Pokemon. It's a pretty cool tool they put out there so you don't have to stare at your phone all the time. Now there's some trade-offs. For instance, you can only use regular Pokeballs using that tool. But neither here nor there. What is out there now, and it is an unofficial hardware piece, but it does work because it uses the exact same API the Pokemon Go Plus does. It is a tool called the Pokemon Gotcha, and it is spelled Go-TCHA. There's the Pokemon Gotcha and the Pokemon Gotcha Ranger. What is that? It is a modified version of a Pokemon Go Plus that has some logic in it. So instead of me having to push a button, it's got logic, so it'll automatically push a button that I don't have to. So for instance, if it comes upon a Pokestop, instead of me having to hit the button on my little wrist strap, it's going to spin it for me automatically. I don't have to reach out and do that. Or I can set it to automatically try and catch Pokemon. Or to make it more interesting, I can make it set up so that it only tries to catch Pokemon that I haven't caught yet.
That's cool.
And this is all automated. I don't have to push a button. So I have started using this, and what I'm holding up right here is the Pokemon Gotcha Ranger. What this is they took the Pokemon Gotcha, which is basically what the screen is right here that is normally in a wrist strap, and they have built it into an 1100 milliamp hour battery, meaning this thing lasts forever. So that I can go out and I can run it for like 3 days worth of stuff before I have to charge it. Whereas the Pokemon Gotcha, the original device, is good for 6 to 8 hours of going out. This will run for ages. But on top of that, I have on the side here a micro USB plug. Why might I want that? Because Pokemon Go destroys your battery. So if you have a phone with micro USB, you plug this into the bottom of it, and you've got your Pokemon Gotcha right here, and it's charging your phone at the same time. Now, it is only an 1100 milliamp hour battery, so it's not going to last for long, but it is enough to get you through a point where you might be in trouble. On the other side is just a regular USB plug used for charging it. Plug that in, charge up the battery. And then there's a few other nice little toys on here. They give you on this little dongle here a micro USB to Lightning adapter. So if you're an iPhone player, you just take this micro USB adapter, put it on that plug there, and plug in your iPhone. You're good to go. On the top, I have a compass, which doesn't work right, but who cares because I didn't buy this for a compass. And then right here also is an LED flashlight. So if worst comes to worst, I have a flashlight during all this. But what this is important for is I can literally just put it in my pocket while I'm playing Pokemon Go or driving to the next location where I'm playing Pokemon Go, and it spins every Pokestop for me. I do not have it set up to catch Pokemon for me because I would quickly run out of Pokeballs, but it will hit every Pokestop for me that is in range. I found this out the other night when last week I went out to dinner with my fiance. We went to a location that has 2 Pokestops in it, and we sat there and ate dinner, and this thing just kept going bzz, bzz, bzz every 5 minutes as it kept spinning both the Pokestops. When I left, I was full up on Pokeballs, full up on berries, and had to throw a bunch of stuff out of my inventory. So, one thing to keep in mind, this is not officially supported by Niantic or Nintendo.
Correct.
Any day, they could theoretically block this from working. It's very hard to do so because this is built on the same API the Pokemon Go Plus tool works on. And why is it also hard? There's an app you can get for this, and I can't remember the name, but let me look while we're sitting here because it's in my Pokemon Go folder, that is called the Gotcha app. And what that does is you pair this up with your phone and it pushes firmware updates out to this device, both this and the regular wrist strap version of the Gotcha, so that as things change, they can refine it, make it work better. They can fix the timings for the auto spins and things like that. And this is a pretty solid and reliable tool right now. Now, I'm saying this is great, things like that. They're hard to find. You can find the wrist strap version of the Pokemon Gotcha in some Walmarts and a lot of GameStops. They're $45. This version right here, I have not found anywhere in the United States. So how did I get it? I went on a website off of the Pokemon Gotcha website that pointed me to codejunkies.com that has a store. They're based out of the UK. I had this shipped from the United Kingdom to me.
That website sounds like something that might have caused your microprocessor company to get shut down.
Perhaps it did. But in all seriousness, what was really cool is I bought this from them. The shipping was like £5 basically because it had to be airmailed. I got it in less than a week from England, just in my mailbox. Wow. It showed up. So if you're looking for one, you can go and get it from them. You can buy via PayPal. The conversion rate to British pounds is not as great as I would like. So when it was all said and done, I think I paid about $60 including shipping for this. So it's a bit expensive. You can buy a regular Pokemon Go Plus for, I believe, $35. Sometimes you find them for as low as $25 when there's a weird sale going on, but it's not very often. And you can buy the regular Gotcha for $45, but there's a premium for having the auto spin over the regular Pokemon Go Plus device.
One other tip I would suggest if you're using a gacha is to either set your Pokemon Go app to either do Pokestops or Pokemon, not both.
Yes.
Because the problem that you're going to have is that if you have both of them selected and you're in an area where there's a lot of Pokemon, what it's going to do is it's just going to keep catching Pokemon, and it'll never spin a Pokestop because it's continually catching Pokemon, and it'll favor catching Pokemon before it does favor spinning up Pokestop.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Sunkast. That was actually in my notes, because when I first started this thing up, that's one of the things I learned the hard way. Is we were sitting there at dinner. Before I got it figured out, I kept having to hit there's a little red button on here that lights up the OLED screen, and it basically functions the same as the button on the Pokemon Go Plus. I had to keep hitting that to have it catch the Pokemon around me, because I had turned on the Pokemon and the Pokestop notifications in the Pokemon Go app to here, but I did not have auto catching of Pokemon on. So it was just sitting there notifying me there were Pokemon there, but not spinning the Pokestops, because that is the very last thing it is prioritized to do. So like Sunkast said, either catch Pokemon or spin Pokestops. Don't do both, because you're going to run out of Pokeballs basically, and you're not going to spin any Pokestops. This was great for me, though, because when we were out raiding yesterday, we were in the downtown area. We were driving from place to place. And I kid you not, I had to empty out my inventory of useless stuff like twice. And I have an inventory of 850 items, or 900. I can't remember. I might have bought an upgrade. So I had to clear things out. And when I left yesterday, I started hunting, and I had 45 Pokeballs. When I got back home, I had 160 Pokeballs. Because there were so many Pokestops, and this thing would just spin it for me. The same thing as a Pokemon Go Plus was, but I just didn't have to reach over and tap a button. And as someone who is generally the driver when we go out raiding, I don't want to have to worry about trying to hit a button on my wrist as I'm driving my car. I can just set this next to my phone and it spins itself. It's a pretty cool tool. If you are playing Pokemon Go and you don't have a Pokemon Go Plus, it's something to consider. I could see it being real helpful, like if you worked in a big city and you rode the train or the bus to work and then walked a good ways, and there were tons of Pokestops there, toss it in your pocket, you're good to go. It's going to spin everything as you walk by.
Make sure you have a lot of Pokeballs, because one of the issues with like any Go Plus or Gacha device is that it will only use regular Pokeballs. It won't use Great Balls, and it won't use Ultra Balls. So you got to make sure that you have a lot of regular Pokeballs. And not only that, but it's like a 50% catch rate. So out of, every throw, you might have a miss or you might have a catch. So you're going to have a 50% catch rate. So you want to make sure that you have enough balls to go through everything that you're catching.
Chris, do you have enough balls?
I think I do right now. Now, Sunkast, question for you that I was unsure of. If you use the Go Plus or a Gacha to catch Pokemon, do you still get the experience from it?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure. So I figured I would defer to the Pokemon Master.
You won't be able to get the XP for like a curveball, because it won't throw a curveball, and
Right.
It won't throw like a great or excellent Pokeball. It'll just throw a regular Pokeball. You'll get the basic XP that you would get from a catch.
So I'll be honest, when we have this Pokemon Go day coming up for EVs, where EVs are going to spawn plentifully, I'm halfway considering just turning on the auto catch to get as many of them as I can with Pokeballs and grinding them into candy to get as much candy as quick as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's really interesting, and I will say that it sounds a little bit like Game Genie, so we're just going to call you a hacker.
Good pull.
So, yeah, modifying the game, that's all. It's really neat, though. No, it is really neat, and I like the idea of what you were saying, where you can still kind of play if you're the driver, right? Obviously, you still want to be cautious. You still want to make sure you pull over. You don't want to
That's what a lot of people
touch
do.
these devices while you're actually driving. Keep your focus on the road.
Mm-hmm.
But at least you're not having to pull over. Oh, sorry, everybody. I know you're done. Let me pull out my phone. Sorry, I'll just be a minute before we can go. Right? It's kind of nice that you can do that. So really cool, really neat, and it sounds like these have all aided you with your Pokemon addiction.
Mastery.
We will make sure to take these from your possession when we send you for rehab. So
I can quit anytime I want, Steven. I swear I can quit anytime I want.
While we're talking about this, Sunkast, do you have anything that you want to chime in along these lines that would fit in really well here, since, again, you are the master of Pokemon?
I think Chris covered a lot of stuff there. Those are the major apps that really help you play this game. Definitely, if you have access to Discord and they have a server for your area, that is the best thing you can do is being on a Discord where there's a lot of people that are active. That'll really get you plugged into the game, get you information about the game, get you up to speed, find other people to do raids with, and it's just the most helpful tool out there is to find a Discord server that plays Pokemon Go.
If you have any tips or tricks or anything that's made your Pokemon Go experience better, please get in touch with us through any of the ways. You can definitely find us at www.gonnageek.com. You can also head on over to Twitter at twitter.com/gonnageek or Facebook us at facebook.com/gonnageek. Or if you want, just leave us a voicemail at 567-343-GEEK. That's 567-343-4335. It is fantastic to hear from you. And also, while you are over on gonnageek.com, make sure you do leave Sunkast a personal message and tell him #Bring Back Tech News Weekly. Wherever we can get that. Maybe one day he'll bring it back. Will you bring it back, Sunkast?
No.
Oh.
Maybe.
Awesome. Well, before we wrap up, let's just take a moment here to go around the table and plug and promote and do whatever we would like to do. And we're going to start off with Sunkast. Sunkast, it's 250 episodes. It's been on a lot of them. We appreciate you coming on here again. So go ahead and take a moment and plug and promote yourself.
So I'm a producer for GFQ Network. Check it out at gfqnetwork.com. We have a whole bunch of shows on there from men's hair loss talk type of stuff. Wrestling, if you are into the WWE, we have Matt Men. If you like tech news stuff, we've got What the Tech with Paul Thurrott, who is a prominent tech journalist over at Thurrott.com. So we've got those 3 big shows right there. Check them out at gfqnetwork.com. And you can also follow me on Twitter at Sunkast. That is Sunkast with a K and not a C.
I will say that you calling those big shows, they don't compare to this right here. This here's on GFQ,
What?
the biggest show. GFQ.
You don't get 50,000 downloads per week for this show?
We get 100,000.
All right, let's see the stats.
Sorry, I'd have to create a stats company that I could embellish my own stats and certify them in order to claim that. Chris Farrell, do you have anything that you want to plug or promote?
Yeah, I do actually. Game Life Balance Australia, it's the sister show to the American version. They're doing a Nintendo 64 special with their most recent episode. So if you're like me and have fond memories of playing N64, you'll enjoy it. Go check it out. They're pretty savage when it goes to checking out and playing a Superman 64 with due reason. It's a very crap game. But go check out episode 64, ironically numbered, Game Life Balance Australia for the N64 special.
Awesome. And I just want to take a moment here to thank every single member that is part of the Gonna Geek Network. You all are individually fantastic. It's a fun community to have. I really enjoy doing the network, and I enjoy having all of you there. You're all special in your own way, and just by being a part of the network, you help build such a fun community, a fun involvement of people. And I like 250 episodes. Okay, we've done 250 episodes. Obviously, we're the flagship show of the Gonna Geek Network, and a lot of the stuff that's kept us.
Are you?
Okay, technically speaking,
By name, if only
paper.
by name alone.
By name alone. And so, really, though, there is a lot of the drive that's come for doing this show has just been the interactions that I've had with the Gonna Geek Network members. So thank you to everybody who is part of the Gonna Geek Network. There's a lot of really amazing content there. And again, thank you everybody who is a part of the network. But that is going to take us to the end of episode 250 of the official GonnaGeek.com show. I'm Stephen John Drew saying, Chris, oh, you're so stolid. You weren't like this before the beard.
I'm Chris, and I'm going to be a Pokemon master, just like Sunkast.
I'm Sunkast, and I'm still catching Pokemon while we're doing a podcast.
Me too.
The thing I said, it was a Q quote. Bring back John Delancey. # bring him back.
Yay, John Delancey.
Bye.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the official GonnaGeek.com show. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts or a thumbs up on YouTube. You can always join us for our live recording sessions, which stream Mondays at 8:45 p.m. Eastern at www.geeks.live. And remember, you can find our full back catalog at gonnageek.com/show. If you're itching for more geeky content, check out other shows on gonnageeknetwork.com. Voice work was by Emily Prokop of the Story Behind podcast. That's it for this episode. We hope to see you back again next week.
Please hold for technical difficulties.
Please stand by. Do 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 do. That's Jurassic Park. That's not a technical difficulties song. I'm sorry.
Hint: the technical difficulties were kids.